And I'm live back again. Real quick turnaround. I dropped the link in the chat. If you guys want to continue the conversation over here, I'll be happy to entertain all comers in the room. And that's a pause on that comment. But yeah, go ahead and hit the like button and let everybody know we're back in the room. And we can get this discussion continued. I think everything is in the room. I pinned the link at the top of the chat. And while we are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and play a video that kind of keeps us focused on what we're going to be talking about here.
What position?
Birthright citizenship.
I think so, yeah. Look, birthright citizenship was, if you look back when this was passed and made, that was meant for the children of slaves. This was not meant for the whole world to come in and pile into the United States of America, everybody coming in and totally unqualified people with perhaps unqualified children. This wasn't meant for that. This was meant, when it was originally done, for the children of slaves.
Black patriots fought and bled on the battlefields of the American Revolution, and they really did. When you read the history, what they gave up, they gave everything to smash the chains of slavery and preserve our nation, and they did it with incredible bravery. They helped win the Wild West, tamed the skies, and saved freedom in the Second World War. They're warriors. From the very beginning, Black Americans have been a vital part of the American story, helping to make this the greatest nation in the history of the world. So true. Thank you. We thank you.
Well, Rico, you the first up. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah.
I know we changed the venue a little bit, but hey, it is what it is. I think you had some people that wanted to talk to you, but you kind of you got off the panel a little too quick because we're just doing one-on-ones.
Right. And I was just trying to make sure I made room for whoever else wanted to come up.
But I was coming in the room as well, but go ahead.
I just thought this was a really, really great topic to talk about. And I think it's good because more so than anything else, you know, it's educational, and at least in our community, I think we should give the history on what the amendment was, because I think people think they know it and they don't know it. And, you know, I just think that there was a lot of things you guys flushed. Now, Fearless was being a little bit more difficult than he normally is. I was like, damn, being difficult.
If you say that a birth certificate based on location, but then when location is within the continental United States, and if the continental United States says wherever you're born within the continental United States, it's by soil. And then that means you're an American citizen and means you're born here. Why is that too difficult to comprehend?
It's not difficult because they're just trying to say we're going to make our citizenship more like a lot of other nations' citizenship.
Right.
So that's why it was so strange to me, because I'm like, it's not that foreign of a concept. We're not coming up with something totally new or different that another 100 countries aren't doing. I'm like, there's another 100 countries in the world that's doing the exact same thing that they're saying they're going to, because the intent of the 14th Amendment, I get it what it is right now, and I'm in support of what it is right now. But I'm also in support of understanding what it was meant to be. I just don't want anything to be done retroactively. I don't want to see anybody who has been given citizenship to have it taken away.
I think that's already happened too, to tell you the truth. I've heard of stories like this.
But I don't agree with that. Go ahead, Strictly.
No, I know some cases where people were actually stripped from their citizenship based I mean, it was that fraud, so it could be a little bit different.
Right.
So, but but it's all relative as far as how, because lots of citizenship were obtained because things used to be easier before when they have any biometrics, you know. In the 70s, 80s, it was easier to get to obtain citizenship. Nowadays, I mean, you know, with all the cheap embedded passport, and all, you can be American, you can be Chinese, and you know, the differences because of the biometric, and they know this guy is Chinese American. So yeah, so but like you said, retroactive, they can go, but so far back though, you know.
Why do you say that?
Because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, for instance, I mean, let's say, okay, like for instance, my dad became a U.S. citizen in the early 60s, even though through my heritage, I was able to find out the exact date when it was naturalized. I could actually see the archives through the U.S. No. If they start cross-referencing, no, they can do that. Actually, it can be retroactive. You're right. No. Let me take that back. It's
And
doable.
the only reason why I say that is because we have like I told them, we have a recent case study in the Americas, in the DR, where they did that. And they went
Yeah,
retroactive
they did that.
80 years. And that was just in 2013.
That is correct.
So I see all the damage that it caused. So that's why I would never want to
Oh
see
my
us
God.
do the same thing. So I'm okay if they say effective 2026 or 2027, whenever they change the law going forward. I think that would be a lot cleaner. But when you make it retroactive, again, my issue with it is what they did in the DR. I don't want to see them do in the US, where you make stateless people. Because once you strip them of their citizenship, they're just not automatically given citizenship to another country. So they have no country.
That is correct. Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, we got to be very careful. You can
But you
be
think that
for
law's gonna
them
pass, or
changing
it's
it, but
still?
do it the right way.
You think the Congress will vote on that law? You think so?
I think, well, if the Supreme Court, Congress would have to enact a new amendment. If the Supreme Court can change and say, you know, they wouldn't really change the law. They would technically they would not change the law. The law is the 14th Amendment. They would
Right.
say that they could rule it unconstitutional.
I wouldn't want
They
them to
wouldn't
go
do
that
that. I
route.
don't think they can
Throw
do
the
that.
whole thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
They could, but they could put limitations on it saying going forward. I just don't think they can make it retroactive. They could say the intent of the law.
Yeah.
You know, what did they call it? I think the guy that died, Scalia, they said he was an originalist. And the originalists, supposedly their positions was, what was the intent of the framers of a particular law at the time when they wrote it? So if you take an originalist doctrine, you can say that, well, when the 14th Amendment was written, the intention of the framers of the act, which again, like I said, everybody keeps saying the children of slaves. It was not for the children of slaves. It was for the newly freed slaves, which included children. And then automatically all of their offspring would get the citizenship of their parents. Because they wasn't just going to say, oh, well, you know, you're newly freed slaves, because in essence, they would have been stateless when the Civil War ended. When Lincoln did the Emancipation Act, he said all slaves are free. So what citizen of what country were they? That's why they had to do the 14th Amendment to confer U.S. citizenship upon them. They had no citizenship. And then all of their descendants, obviously, at the same time, that didn't confer to Native Americans. So it wasn't inclusive of everybody, because Native Americans still did not become citizens until 1924. So when people say it included everybody, no, it did not include everybody.
I didn't know that. So Native American weren't citizens until
They were
1924?
not US citizens, no. Even though
They still have their own laws. They still have their own laws on their reservations.
Yes, but they were not U.S. citizens under federal law.
So what kind of document did they have? They were considered U.S. subject,
they
U.S.
have treaties
national?
they have treaties that have been honored all this time.
But what they were
Oh, wow.
citizens of a nation within a nation,
Correct.
but they were not federally recognized
Okay.
as citizens of America.
Okay, I get
And
it.
no other country was doing any treaties with them because they had
Wow.
they were called the nation. So if you were Cherokee, that was a nation. If you were Sioux, that was a nation. All these different tribes were different. You know, I mean, I don't know exactly how it was, but they were
Yeah.
like considered nations and reservations, but they were not US citizens. They did not become US citizens until later.
Oh, that's deep though. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So it's all, and that's why I sit there and say it's like I was a big birthright citizen proponent, and I swear I hate to say it, I'm like they made a very valid argument as into, you know, when I started deep diving into the history of it and whatnot, I was like, you know, they got a valid argument. We just had it for so damn long. I thought it was
Yeah.
locked. You know,
Mm-mm.
I thought it was just set in stone. It's always
Yeah,
been
but we
that.
just kept on, like I said, it was a slippery slope. I brought that up with Fearless. Is
Yeah.
first it was the birthright citizenship that gave us, you know, citizenship. Then it became an empathetic thing with the Asians and them coming over on the California side to help build the railroad and them becoming citizens.
Mhm.
And then after that, 20th century comes around and you got child issues and what's right for the child, what's the best interest, living in a foreign country that might be dilapidated versus being in America with all the advantages, social services, and everything that that child can take advantage of as a U.S. citizen. So
So
it just kept on getting worse and worse and worse until we're at this point right now.
and
Yeah.
how I think they'll do it is they'll overturn the Wong Kim Ark decision.
Ah,
Because it was
ooh,
basically that decision which said
that started
anybody
it.
born here. Now, how they can overturn that? Because they can decide that the Wong Kim Ark decision was decided improperly or incorrectly. Because in essence, the people, when the government was denying him citizenship, they were saying because he was not born to U.S. citizens.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
argument can be because they were migrants, lawful migrants, but they were not naturalized, nor were they U.S. citizens. So he was not entitled to citizenship, and that's what they're trying to change it
Yeah.
back to, so that even if you're here lawfully in the U.S. and have a child, as I was trying to tell Fearless, if you're not guaranteed U.S. citizenship by land, I think it's Solus is by land and Seguin is by blood, then you would
Yeah, Sanguinis is by blood, yeah, and so is by
Sanguinis is
land.
by
That is correct.
right. So you would be given the citizenship of your parents. Just that plain
That
and
is
simple.
correct.
If you have Italian parents and you're born here in the US and neither one of them are naturalized or US citizens, then you're Italian. But
Oh,
you
yeah, yeah.
still will get a birth certificate. You still get
Yep.
a birth certificate, but you're
It's
not a citizen.
yeah, it's called it's a foreign birth certificate. It's actually, yeah, because
Yeah.
I have like my sister, she was born in Switzerland. He didn't make her a
Mhm.
Swiss citizen. She has
See?
a foreign birth certificate, and she has, you know, you will have it. I mean, until this day,
Mhm.
even in the Middle East, I mean, you're born there, everybody's born there. They got the Emirate certificate, birth certificate, but the nationality is the per nationality. So it's not something new.
Yes.
It's there in multiple countries. I mean, it's the UK is like this, and but even though there's a small variation, if you were born there and spend at least 18 years there, and
Mhm.
there's some differences. They're gonna have to adapt. Most likely, they're gonna follow probably the UK laws or something similar. It's gonna be just amended, I think,
Mhm.
if it goes through. Yeah, like I know, for instance, like France, for instance, if a Haitian citizen born in France, he doesn't get citizenship automatically until he reach the age of 18. Then, you know, so, and like for Switzerland, in order to become a Swiss citizen, you have to spend at least 10 years as a resident before you get citizenship. So, yeah, probably they will do something
And
similar. I mean, it's nothing
but
new. I mean,
Haiti
lots of
has
countries
something
has
like
that.
in their constitution, like you have to be born to two Haitian parents, right?
With Haiti,
No,
I
you have
think,
to be born from one Haitian parents, but
yeah,
worldwide. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I can tell you exactly. Hold
But
on.
Dominican too, though.
Yeah,
Dominican too. Dominican, if you're
exactly.
born from one Dominican parents,
Mhm.
even, okay, for instance, let's say Ron is gonna have Ron is in Dominican Republic, and he has with his girlfriend or wife from the first born here. It doesn't make them a Dominican citizen because they're actually in transit. But if Ronin is illegally, if he's illegally not in transit or not as a diplomat, at that moment, yes, the child can be a U.S. citizen. So it's a mix of jus solis and jus sanguinis, but with some clauses. You have to meet.
I keep saying that, yeah, sanguinis. I keep saying it in my head because I had to practice it for a while.
Sanguinis,
sanguinis, yeah, and it's. I'm looking at the rule right now. It goes by both sanguinis and soli. And the Haitian Constitution, Article 11 states that children born to Haitian father or mother who are native-born Haitians is a Haitian citizen at birth, even if born outside of Haiti. And then jus sole is if you're born in Haiti to Haitian parents, you get citizenship by both blood and soil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew they had a lot of countries have a lot of caveats too.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not just one thing. Is you got to do A, B, C, D, and E. Like what the fuck? You have a lot of stuff to it.
That is correct. Then you have some countries where it's easier than others, and then it all depends. I mean, they have. But I think
for the most part,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think the big ticket is U.S. and Canada, which is just by you're born there. Legal, illegal, whatever.
You don't matter.
And maybe is it Mexico too? And then
also Chile.
Okay. And then, but the big drivers is obviously when you look at this map is the US, Canada, I would say Mexico.
All of the Americas, but pretty much beside for that one country there, are all
that's probably Venezuela, maybe
Colombia.
Right
Colombia has restricted.
Oh shit! Okay. Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's the only country on this whole map on the America side that has a restriction.
Yeah.
And all the gray are double, like
you were saying with Haiti. It's only Colombia.
All the grays are double. So
that's
And then these are actually grayed out areas too. These two countries.
That's like Suriname,
either or.
Guyana or something.
So if you see green, it's unrestricted, but some still have some opts in and opts out.
Yep.
And as you get into the red, that's when all the stipulations start coming in. A blood, one parent, how many years, if you were adopted, if they don't know who your parents are, all these other stipulations start coming in. And then, like I said, with the gray is it could be either or based on the situation.
So the weird thing about it is there are far more countries with restrictions than without restrictions.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Far fewer countries without
or stipulations too. Yeah, absolutely. What's up, O2O? I don't want to keep you in the back too long, man. You can jump in. This is an open panel, open panel. So hop in like you playing.
All right, hold on. I'll jump back in in a bit. Okay. All right, just give me 15 minutes or something. 10.
Yeah.
All right.
So again, this is an open panel. This is an open panel. You can hit the link at the top of the chat. Join the chat and join the live and put your input in on birthright citizenship and how you feel about what's going on with the 14th Amendment while it's in the Supreme Court being reviewed. Go ahead.
And the way I look at it strictly, because I heard you at the end of on Fearless, but I want to ask you, why do you think it would be so troublesome if they were to change it? Because the only thing I say is, for me, I look at some of the countries that have the more restrictive. Because I'm trying to run through my head because you said a couple of things that made me think. You said something about the racial profiling part. And then you said something about, well, America used to be, you could be a Chinese man. I'm like, well, even if they change it, we're still going to be a multicultural country. So that's why I'm not sure about the racial profiling, because even if they change the law, say 2026.
I was more fearless thinking about that. It's like, how you prove it? They're just going to arrest you and send you out of the country. And I'm like,
he said something about it like he was worried. I'm like, well, we're still going to have Chinese Americans and African Americans and Hispanic Americans. You're still going to have all these. So
All they're
I
saying
would
is
get
come
racial
through the right way. You don't automatically get citizenship. Nobody say you can't apply. Nobody say you couldn't come through the right door.
No,
And you
what
still
I'm
gonna
saying
have
is
all
this,
these different
because
people in the country. Is my question. It's like it's still gonna be the same,
Right.
I'm going to give you
right?
an example. I have
Okay.
friends, they are Chilean Congolese. They're black. They moved to the United States. They came on the program with no visa. Stayed there. They have never been profiled because they look black, right? But then a friend who look Hispanic, they always get profiled because of the look. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
So
therefore,
that's
there's
what
like
happened.
because
But then
I mean, if you look
that's
black, okay, so you go ahead.
but that's but what you I'm trying to understand. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet, but I'm trying to understand how is that if you're explaining to me something that's a normative based on a particular society, that's the norm of that society. It's just like you said, one group gets profiled, but not necessarily because of their citizenship. They just getting fucking profiled. Like black people in America get profiled just because you're black. It ain't because of our citizenship. It's because of the stereotypes around it. So I'm
Yeah,
like, whether the citizenship issue exists or not, you're still going to have that
gonna
same
be
thing. And
profiled.
I did want to point out one correction because you kept saying that nobody else does Afro anything, but you just told me Chilean Congolese, and I said that's the difference. They don't call them Afro Chileans; they call them by their nationality.
No. It's me. I want to make that clarification. In Chile, there's
Okay.
no. It's only now that yeah, you're right in this point. And now they have included this year
Hmm.
Afro-Chilean as a
Okay.
group because you have an influence of Haitian who moved
Hmm.
to Chile, and so they were not recognized in the census. Not
Oh,
indeed.
but guess what? Just to add to that, they did that to Mexico in 2015, where they were never counting
Say it again.
Afro-Mexicans ever in the history of Mexico. And they recognized that they needed to because there was large groups of indigenous Afro-descendant people that were not getting representation. So I think it's kind of
They were not
important.
recognized
I
in
think
the
it's kind of
census. That is
important
correct.
because if you don't, they become invisibilized, even though that's a
Yeah.
made up fucking word. Basically, it's easy for the government to, yeah, I know. It's easy for the government to ignore your ass.
I had to look
I
back at
like
you
that
for that
word.
one. I said, "Ooh, you pulled that out the
Invisibilized. I
dumpster."
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? So I get
Yeah.
what you're saying, but I think
Yeah.
it's
No, but
when I think about it, it's important.
but you know what I'm saying? That
T-Mac,
because
you're gonna
like,
have to jump in here, man. This is like hopscotch. If you
you
don't
know,
jump in,
Yeah,
it
man.
just
Rico, that's a good, that's interesting conversation because I know lots of African who are Europe, and then they don't. They look at them like I have a Belgian passport, for instance. I'm just a Belgian citizen, and the census they don't even ask which race. So it's quite interesting. The same UK, is Afro British or Afro. It's a really more. Now that I think about it, this denomination apply usually to countries that were colonized by the different nations. You know,
exactly.
you won't see that in the United Kingdom because they were never colonized per se. France neither. But when you go to Mexico, they're initially colonized by the Spaniard, of course. So then you have that connotation. And I heard also they have Afro-Argentinian because they were not recognized because Argentina will always try to whiten the population. They always try to get rid of the blacks, so they act like there was never any blacks. But I met a guy from Argentina, and he was black. And then so it's a very small portion of the population, but there are the same thing with Peruvian. I've seen black
Hmm.
Peruvian. I've seen so I guess it's in that case. You're right. I mean, in Americas, it's important to pinpoint that because it's pretty much like now that I think about it, it's like a part of the population that was kind of side. While in
Yeah,
Europe, they
you're
were
pretty
always
racist.
they were raised exactly. Well, in Europe, they were always part of. I mean, they were always there. They were always part of. Yeah. You're right because makes sense. Makes lots of sense because
Mhm.
My
Can I?
grandfather was black in the 1950s. He's Portuguese. He has a Portuguese passport. You know, he's born in 1923. He had a Portuguese passport. It was in 1923, so it was normal to have a black Portuguese. Which, so I kind of, yeah, so I kind of understand the whole dynamic. I'm coming from my mom is Congolese, but mixed with multiple things, and my dad is mainly Haitian. Like for instance, when I tried to do my genealogical tree, and my dad's, I stopped until my great grandfather, and that's it. I can my mom, for instance, her lineage, I go way back because it's easier. Because my dad, you can tell that when they reach Haiti, that was it.
Yeah, but
It's
your
over.
mom, he met her in Congo, so
Yeah,
it's easier for her to track her heritage because all her history is right there. See, and that's the thing
exactly.
that
And it was
separates us from an African nation and us being here in America. It's not so easy to get to that part where you got somebody
that
secured in
is correct.
Africa as part of your tree. We got an
And they
easier
were
time of
changed.
tracking our European nation relatives. I've tracked all my European relatives to royalty in England and all this other shit. But you hit Africa, bruh, it's over. Unless you know a family member that's come back here and tracked
Yeah,
us the other way and reverse, where they jumped over and
yeah.
said, hey, let's find our ancestors that came to America, type of thing. You ain't never gonna find them.
No,
Yeah, that's
never,
what you're
never.
saying is actually true about tracing back your European heritage, because I
Yeah,
traced it back to about 1000 AD. Actually, my
yeah.
European, just doing regular
Dang.
internet searches,
But
and
again, there's that detail.
also if we go back a little bit, when we talked about the Afro Mexicans, I really don't like the term Afro in front of like the actual nationality. The reason I'm saying that, we were talking about like Afro Mexicans, they've been there during the, this, let me say, during the Spanish times, there was Gaspar Yanga. So it was one of the first black, free black settlements in the Western Hemisphere, and that was
Right.
under the he basically he kept kicking the Spanishes, butt, until finally they said, okay, we're going to give you your independence as long as you don't allow any other slaves, stay here. So that's an old community, and also there's the Muskogee, which I have some lineage to, I would say. Um, so when they went on Trail of Tears, about 37% were black. They went to the Oklahoma territories,
Yeah.
and the five civilized tribes, the way they became civilized is because they basically fought for the South, and they agreed to, to like adopt slavery. And so like Black Seminoles and some other tribes, they actually settled down in northern Mexico, and they were given their freedom under Vicente Guerrero. And they call them Muskogee, and they still celebrate like their independence under John Horse. So you guys can all look this up yourself.
Oh no,
And
believe me, my son's mother is a Oklahoma Indian off of that reservation you talking about. So I
right, so
already
I did some, actually. It's funny. I used kind of Chat GPT to kind of lead me to some of my like lineage, because I was stuck in my ancestry tree, and part of my ancestry tree came from like the Choctaw Nation. So they were, in Spanish territory. They came over my father's side through Mississippi to Cass County, Texas, and all up to the Oklahoma territories. But to go back, there's a lot of, we've been basically lied and deceived about the history. When you talk about the UK, it was colonized. Most of the historians now, they'll say that 3,000 years ago, Europe was mostly black. And then you had the other tribes that came over from the east, to the west, and basically displaced the indigenous population. Then before them, you would, if you want to get more specific, you had the Saxons, you had the Normans. They came over, the different Germanic tribes. So, and the reason I was going back, I don't really like the term Afro, because if you look on SmithsonianMagazine.org, they did a study that 50,000 years ago, they found some basically remains in DNA of a Negroid type phenotype, which they didn't say the term Negroid, but they would say it was akin to the people of certain areas in Africa. And that was 40,000 years before the migration across the Bering Strait.
right.
So there's more evidence that says they were actually people of, I would say, more of a melanoid type, melanated type phenotype in the Americas long before there was any other people. And the first Europeans to write about this was actually Columbus. It's in his journal when he wrote about basically black people being in the New World, and Francisco Balboa and others. I'll leave it at that. I just want to, and one more thing I wanted to say.
No, it's good. It's good.
Uh,
Yeah.
Black people are, well, the Native Black Americans are not immigrants. There's only two groups in the in the United States that are not immigrants. Those will be the indigenous or Native Americans, and Black people who are descendants of slaves. So there, if you can look it up in Chat GPT yourself. So we're not classified as immigrants.
No, we're not. Immigrants mean you had an option. Brothers did not have an option. If you were dragged over here on a boat, you were sold into slavery. That's not immigration. Immigration is you politely came over here, and one way or another, you brought a ticket on a boat. You went through the process through Ellis Island or whatever, and what T-Mac is saying is absolutely right. Creole Nation has been here a long time. Creoles are a mixture of a combination of multiple races that blended together. Before America brought Louisiana, it was part of France, and France had no problem with integration. You had blacks with whites. That's where mulattoes and all that shit came from way beforehand. They got so uncomfortable after they brought Louisiana, they taught them how to segregate people, and it was still difficult.
But you know what I think, Rona, and that's powerful what you said, brother T-Mac. That was a great, lot of great information, history, and teaching. But I think what he's saying, as far as for me, is about the how he was saying, like, Native American, the indigenous people and black slaves, descendants of slavery, not being immigrants, is because, and I think I heard brother Tariq. I listened to Tariq Nasheed, and I definitely rock with what he's saying as far as the FBA information. But there's some truth to the fact of how we're not the same. While our descendant goes back to Africa, we're not the same in any way, shape, or form as those people that we came from. There was almost a break in the African, like from the Africans that they brought on the ship. That was in some sort of way like an ethnogenesis. It was almost decimated out of us, and a new form of black was created.
We're not even nowhere close to being as docile as an African. I mean, here's the thing. If you want to look at, science now, and they're breeding and genetically altering, way back then we were genetically offered. They breeded the strongest buck with a woman, and they were trying to get the stronger and stronger. They basically bred our own freedom.
A whole new blackness. So that's why, to me, it's like it was birthed here. It was birthed in America through the shit that we had to endure, our ancestors, what they went through, and they birthed a new type of black, which we are the descendants of. We are now the descendant of that, not the descendant of where they came from. And that's just the truth.
Correct. Yeah.
He said ChatGPT chose us to be born black.
I mean, so I get why ChatGPT would say that lineage of blackness, going back to that, is not an immigrant black, because compared to, like, if my ancestry goes to Nigeria, I am nothing like a Nigerian or that would come from Nigeria today or tomorrow.
And like T-Mac, I had a long John conversation with ChatGPT, and to truth, the one thing you can't beat into a computer is racism. You want analytical facts based on history and compiled data and information from a computer, it's going to give you that without any kind of separation of, oh, well, I'm white and I can't tell you 100% the truth. No, it's going to give you basis on what it can compile based on known records of all sources. So that's the one thing about a computer. When you start having conversation with them, you teach them. At the same time, ChatGPT and all these other databases don't know everything. So it's a cross education, but they have resources and access to a lot of things that normally you can't see. So when you start having these discussions, you can get involved in them. Go ahead, Obstacles, and I'm going to bring up the next person as well, too. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, no, I was going to go straight back to the birthright thing. As far as me and I'm considered, man, yank that bad boy. You feel me? Like, at the end of the day, take it. I don't care. And then let everybody else, and that, again, I only got one vote, so that's my opinion. Somebody else might have a different one and say, no, don't do it. Okay, cool. I'm not about to get mad at that. But at the end of the day, nations change. We reassess what our immigration policy is, our nationalization, and then our birthright. And so that's everybody. I mean, we're nothing special. At the end of the day, most of the world doesn't do what we do. And so I think it's some time for some reciprocity, because after that's been established for a long time, then people will just take advantage of it. And so we're going to have to fix it. But I mean, I only got one vote. So I'm going to tell everybody I'm down with it and I support it. And if it loses, then it loses. I continue to be me and be great. And then, they're not going to come in and beat me anyways. So at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. But I would like to see, if it mattered, for my single vote, for it to change.
Yeah, I agree.
If people in Thailand would want the same thing. People in China would want the same thing. I think we're kind of stupid, actually. I think most Americans are the weak point, not America in itself. It's weak Americans at the end of the day, because y'all believe in fairy tales and the rest of the world doesn't. So,
I mean, you got all the European Union that has restrictions on birth, and a lot of them are by blood. Or straight up blood. It has nothing to do with, oh, we feel bad for. No, you have to have blood to be English.
And you know what's funny? I kind of was like looking at other citizenships, and it's funny when you naturalize, meaning when you go through a process in order to become a citizen of a country outside of birth, outside of lineage, they have these conditions where they're like, oh no, you can't have dual citizenship. So, but if they come to America as a Chinese national, and they get American citizenship, it's completely fine for them to be Chinese and American. But if I'm an American and want to be Chinese, they're going to tell me, get rid of your American citizenship. You cannot be both Chinese and American. So it's these nuances that are not really translated to most people, understanding like, dang, there is a restriction on dual citizenship. Yes, when you naturalize. But when you're actually just born from, like, let's say Mexico will say, oh, it's allowable. Go be an American and be a Mexican. We got no problem with it. But if you're an American and saying, I want to be a Mexican, they're like, you're going to have to give up that U.S. citizenship if you want to come over here. So it's kind of like they make us choose allegiancy and draw a line in the sand, while when it's actually beneficial for them, they don't force their own people to make that choice.
That is correct. For instance, Singapore doesn't allow dual citizenship, but yet I know a Singapore American.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because they allow it when you come from the lineage.
Yep.
They don't allow it when you're trying to get theirs citizenship. They're like, nah, you good. Give it up. And I'm like, dang. Or Thai people, same thing. Thailand's the same way. You want to naturalize, give up the U.S. citizenship. But I'm like, wait, hold on. There's Thai people who have both. They're like, yeah, but they're Thai, so shut up. So I'm just like, all right, cool. Do you? I ain't mad. But I'm like, man, we need to change our position then.
If we're just too nice, and all of a sudden when we change up, all of a sudden we're assholes for
changing. Then we
racist.
Yeah. But the same thing with Emirati, for instance. Yeah, Emirati, for instance, if you're Emirati, you can only be Emirati. But if you're an Emirati born in the United States, you and Americans and US citizens at the same time, because you were born in the United States, you have the jus solis, and then you're Emirati, you have the jus because your parents are Emirati, so they have those nuances. Yeah, that's. I'm not for the fact because like Congolese, I can't be American technically because it's unique. But guess what? I have a Congolese passport and also have a US citizen passport, so technically it's not possible, but I still do because birth and by jus sanguinis I get a lineage, and then an American through my dad, which is well, it's quite interesting. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But when you do it, it's actually extremely sophisticated. It's actually a soft power technique. It's actually brilliant of the other people and stupid of us as Americans. This is why I say Americans are the weak one. But net, at the end of the day, it leaves a position where, let's say you are Thai American, and there is the issue between Thailand and America. If you're actually pretty entrenched in America as a Thai citizen, and then also an American citizen, you would probably attempt to push policies that are also friendly to Thailand from within the country, also outside of the country. So it allows this dual position where if you are actually good citizens in America, you're like, what are you doing? Treat Thailand respectfully. Stop being disrespectful. And then they'll have to answer to American Thai citizens and then also Thailand at the same time. So it's actually an ingenious type of, regulation.
Isn't Minnesota going through that same thing? Don't they have a governor or a mayor that's Somalian? They have
those
the
people are
Somalis,
American,
that's
right?
Somalian, and they usually say Somali first. I'm like, what the fuck? You're in
Yeah,
America talking about
Somali
Somali first.
first.
That's where that loyalty and shit comes in at. How are you in
Yeah.
America already implementing Somali first in American soil as Americans? What the freak is going on now?
And people often don't know the context, kind of like what Krusty was saying. When he looked at the context, he was like, oh, snaps, never mind. This is pretty interesting. But people don't know the context. So let's say we do TARFs on Thailand, and they're like, man, this is an injustice. And you're like, bro, Thailand has been TARFing us 300% forever. Like, we're not the first ones to create a TARF. They already had one. And people are like, well, I don't care about that. You're doing it now, and you're the bad guy. And so people refuse to look at that context sometimes. And then you end up in that compromised position where you're looking like the bad guy. And that's what you're explaining. It's like you're looking like a bad guy because you're doing something that
I played a video. I played a news report where Trump 7 years ago was thinking about doing this.
Yeah,
Could you imagine where we would be? How much chaos happened in the last 7 years? Had he locked that shit down 7 years ago, where would America be when it comes
Ronin,
to
we have to understand though too, again, remember we spoke about earlier, even altering the birthright citizenship is only going to have a marginal effect on the immigration issue, because again, the immigration is driven by economic most immigrants are not, they're not political asylum seekers. They're fucking economics. They're coming here to make better money. We know that. So that's still going to be driven whether you can have an anchor baby or not. I definitely think it needs to go away. Don't get me wrong, because I think for some, they come up here with that concept and they think, well, if I have the anchor baby, I get this, there's permanency.
No, I'm not saying that in a way like you're thinking. I'm saying in a way that if Trump had done it, in which I think the Democrats knew the writing on the wall when Trump got back, he was going to implement it. Like one of his top things, his first thing in office was he signed that in February.
Which to be honest,
wait, let me finish. Let me finish. The reason I'm saying that is 7 years ago, had he done that, by the time Biden got in office, when he did get elected, the floodgates that happened while Biden was in office for 4 years would not have happened.
If he had
the movement around the country of all the immigrants that got pushed in here and rushed in here on Democrats' backs wouldn't have happened, because those implementations would have already taken place, is what I'm saying. They would have had to come through legally. They couldn't have just been here and mass like they did.
I'm asking, are we conflating two things? Because my question is that even over the last 7 years, let's pretend on day one of his first administration, poof, birthright citizenship is gone. Even after he left office, all of them people that came in under Biden anyway, because they wasn't coming, everybody wasn't coming here to have an anchor baby. A lot of them was coming anyway. So what I'm saying is, even that's why I don't even understand it. Right? Even the people that's upset about it, I'm like, what are y'all upset about? Even if it changes, it can change today or tomorrow. It's going to make an effect on the margins, because let's face it, ain't that many. There's not a caravan of pregnant women coming up from Mexico. There's a caravan of fucking immigrants, but they're not all fucking pregnant, ready to drop a baby. But it definitely needs to be fixed.
It's a totality.
Yeah, but yes, it's a problem.
So it's not like as if Trump is doing this only thing.
Right.
You see what is doing. You see what Department of Homeland Security is doing. So it's a multi-layered type of strategy.
But I
think
one
of the elements within.
But I have a question for you guys.
Right. Let me say this. I think what birthright citizenship helps is because I think over the decade of it existing. So if it's in a 10-year window, yes, that's a lot of fucking chain babies that get born. So that's what I think it fixes. I just don't think it fixes it in 1 or 2 years, but over decades, yes.
It's not meant to fix it in 1 or 2 years. It's meant to stop it. It's meant. Wait, hold on. It's meant to be a preventative medicine, even though it should have been prevented, as you said, a decade ago. It's not like, well, what's the point of doing it now, because it's not going to fix the problem within 1 or 2 years. Because you can make that same argument 10 years ago and say, well, what's the point of doing it now when you could have did it 2 years ago? So it's about doing it now.
Yeah.
So
you keep kicking the ball down the street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has to be stopped. And I think it's actually the biggest problem because once it's like all it takes is one person, two people creates two kids create four kids create, and it just spreads. And now you have this really bad problem that it becomes much more difficult to fix. So the goal was to get those 10 million people over the last 40 years into America. And it's like, well, there's only 10 million people. That 10 million people is going to dwarf us as Black Americans completely. I mean, if they haven't already done so already. And then also is when you put the fear of on white people as well, because they're still the majority, and they're like, "What is this is getting really bad." So it's starting to affect them. They're now taking the forefront and say, "Well, we got to get a handle on this thing." And I'm not against it because this is as much my country as it is theirs, and it affects me as much as it affects them, more so them than it does me. So hey, it's just the way it's got to be.
Go ahead.
Quick question. Let's look at the FBI director. Where is he from? He's Indian, right?
Yeah. Indian descent. Yeah,
So
I don't know.
when you think about,
India.
I mean, it's Indian descent. I mean, if you know
He's
the
Indian.
Indian culture, it's Indian. It doesn't change anything. You can be 4th, 5th generation Indian. It's Indian. So technically to stop, because if you think about it, I mean, you will never see a U.S. citizen naturalized Indian as an FBI director. You never see that. Never.
Not up until now.
I mean, no, but you won't. I mean, they would just won't allow it because they're very. I mean,
good old boy. Let's say it. Good old boy network. You can
it.
say it in here. You can say it. It's a good old boy network. You got to be YT to be right. Yeah, especially in politics and power. Yeah.
Well, what I think is interesting. Go ahead, Strickland.
Yeah, so Indian, I've worked with them, and I'm telling you, the only place in my entire life where I was never to do business was India. Until today, I'm still waiting for a call to open a bank account, and that was in 2017, 8 years ago. They say, we'll call you. Until this day, that's India. I mean, if you're not Indian, they will not do business with you. But yet, we have FBA director, which is Indian. We have J.D. Vance's wife, which is Indian. So, I mean, all the major CEO of Fortune 500 company are Indian as well. So I think the idea to change those things, the majority of them came as immigrant and they were born there. And I think that's what they're trying to stop. So when I think about it, that it depends which side we are, but that could change the whole graphic. It could also affect policies, when you have Indian involved with into political affairs. We've seen it in the UK. We've seen it. So it's if you look at the whole United Kingdom, they had the same issue where the mayor was from India. Then until now, even the chief of the Minister of Defense as well is from India. It was the same thing in Canada. In the Trudeau government, it was also from India. Even the Minister of Migration during Trudeau government was Somalian.
So what you're describing is a Western issue, because you're right, because even the Prime Minister of the UK for a short period, I mean, they had prime ministers for like 2 weeks and shit, because they vote them in and vote them out so fast. He was Indian for a while.
Yeah.
So
it
seems to be a Western issue because more than an Eastern issue.
Definitely.
Because when you look in Asia, I'm not sure about Africa, but I would say most countries in Africa, certainly,
same thing.
You never have, they're very homogenous in their politics.
That is correct.
So even in the Middle East, you're never going to see a non-Muslim, white, Hispanic, whatever person in any positions of any authority in any of those countries. That country will stay forever backwards in time rather than let an intelligent person of a different tribe, ethnicity, religion into their country to have their hands on the levers of power. So that exists in India. But we do in the West, not just in America. Like you said, you do it in Canada, they do it in the UK, So while I'm definitely would say we can beat up on America, we ain't the only dummies.
I
I don't
wouldn't
know
even
if we're
say we can
dummies
beat up
because
on it. I
this
wouldn't even.
country,
Oh, go ahead, Jay. Go
I
ahead.
was just saying this country is literally built on immigration. So we're not like an India or Japan. I would not want Japan to have like a white person or European come in just because they're qualified. I would say Japan should, they have certain, I want them to be uniquely themselves. Same thing with India, same thing with Russia. America is different in that it was founded literally from a hodgepodge of different people, pilgrims. Then became white people, then became black people, then Mexicans, everyone was kind of just here. So our country, the laws make sense for the way in which this country was founded and born out of. So we're never going to be able to say it's going to be, this is what an American is, because it is basically all over the world. They come here, that's the way it's always been. Whereas, yeah, Japan has always been homogenized. Italy, they used to be homogenized. So it's like all these other countries are much older than America. Of course, they're going to
I
have
think.
different laws and immigration laws that fit them. No, they should not have other people outside of other countries managing their affairs. Unlike here, you know, we want to have representation as black people. There's people in Dearborn, for example, where I'm at. They want to have representation of themselves in their own city council. That makes sense. But like these other countries, they're just have their own thing. You can't compare American politics to other politics around the world, but at the same time, we can't be sad about the way we handle the politics that we have.
I think there is differences, but the UAE is basically 80% expat. So net, their country is actually built on the same type of migration, big time. Actually, that's more than the United States of
That is
America.
correct.
One thing I
Is it
would
real
just say
migration
is
though?
they're real smart, and it really doesn't need to go all the way back in history. It has changed it. America has not allowed people to actually become citizens. It has blocked people. It has stopped people from coming in. So it's just a back and
Mhm,
forth pendulum. But what I and it's
mhm,
a completely longer history. But what I would say is, look, this is just the biggest weakness y'all got as Americans. You guys are just gullible. You're immature, right? That's all. You're just immature. A
true.
lot of
That's
Western
true.
countries are very immature. And it's so funny too. When you go to Thailand, you have this made up in your mind. I should shut up. When in Thai, do as the Thais do. Or when in Rome, do as the Romes do. Or when in just fill in the blank. When I go to China, I shut up. I don't start going to China and saying no CCP, no communism. I shut up and do what the Chinese people do and enjoy Chinese food and shut up and leave. But for some reasons, you guys allow people to come in your country and tell you
Disrespect
what
us.
to do and tell you this is my culture and you must respect it in your own country. It's almost ridiculous. You have no opinions in their countries, but then they're allowed to come to
Hmm,
America and burn your flag in the streets. It's
hmm.
insane. I could not even imagine trying to burn a flag in Thai streets and let Thai people just
That
let
is
that
correct.
ride out. But in America, y'all allow it to happen. Freedom of speech. They have freedom of speech here too, but it has an extent. It stops somewhere. And net at the end of the day, once you disrespect the country, you get out. I don't care if we hate Thailand or if we hate China. You don't talk about my family business. You don't come in here and put some disrespect on it. I don't care. But you guys, y'all allow it to happen. So people exploit you. It's supposed to happen. So I think that's the biggest actual problem right there is you just allow people to exploit you, run over, and disrespect you in your own home. Okay, you have problems with America. I get it. Everybody has problems with Israel. Israeli people have problems with Israel. I can't come there as an American citizen to say, yeah, F Israel. They'd be like, hold on now. You shut your damn mouth. You're not an Israeli. You don't live here. You don't have no rights
But
to our politics.
I
Actually,
don't have
what's your visa? Let me call
hmm.
immigration real quick and get you up out of here. So that's what I'm
So,
saying.
yep,
It's always the American
sure
people
is.
who are the problem.
Yeah, that's naivety. This is a young country, and it seems like it's a lot of mistakes we made. Slavery being one of them. It's a lot of things that it's a young country, and so you're right. There, you got these other countries that's like, yeah, we probably been there, done that, we tried that, but now we see that this younger country, let's go ahead and exploit this little loophole. Yeah, this whole
Look,
tariff thing, the fact that we getting over these people because they got so much money. Yeah, let's stroke their ego and then at the same time charge them up the ass on these terrorists. We don't. Let's kind of do that sneakily. So there's going to be some pushback. You got one person that got the balls to do it. Thank God. It's kind of like,
look,
okay, the terrorism is an issue, the immigration is an issue. There's other issues I'm sure that we have here that we have to fix and won't be solved in 4 years or 3 years. So we just kind of have to, as we go.
Brother
What's
Obstacle
the
says,
one thing people say, Ronin, when you go to Brazil? Learn the language. And
Yeah,
what are they really telling you to do? Integrate.
exactly.
When people come to America, do you tell them, shut up, learn English, learn the language? You don't even do that. You actually say, yeah, you should change the name of the streets. You should change the. This is what I'm saying. These are the nuances and where you're being exploited.
Right.
And the world is laughing. I'm telling you, I looked
How
overseas.
can
They
you
laughed
be
about
so
it.
inclusive that you allow a business owner in the United States to put up their language on a sign, or even allow them to name certain streets in their language? What the freak is going on? Why are we so liberal in our allowance of foreigners coming
Los
into our
Angeles.
country? Yeah,
Los
I
Angeles.
totally agree with Brother Obstacles.
Los
You know what you were
Angeles.
saying. I totally
Mexico.
agree. I don't think it's totally about age because look at Singapore. Look, that's a very young country, much younger than the United States, and they don't have all these BS rules like we do. And you know, when I was working back in like the defense industry, like when you're talking about having people from all these different nationalities, and I'm not gonna go into a lot of specifics, but they're to like a hostile nation. I knew a couple engineers, right? And I knew that they were basically leaving information when they would go on travel because by chance they would leave like their laptops in another country that was hostile to us when they would go on travel, and we had to change the rules. And like us in the United States would make these silly accommodations that allow these things to happen to us, and that's why, like, I totally agree because I've seen it happen.
And imagine, like, I gotta get on a little bit of rant. It's so disrespectful. There's so many people I see that come to America and they're like, yeah, I just get my money. I mean, they treat us like a prostitute. They're like, yeah, I just go to America, get my money. I go back to Africa because it's really the homeland. It got no violence. It got no crime. Everything's harmonious, which is a big lie. But net, we just allow them to talk trash. Imagine if I came to Africa and was like, yeah, I just get the money out of Africa and I leave. I go to the UK. I go to Dubai and live in a penthouse. People will call that what? Exploitation. I'm going there and exploiting their economy. I'm taking the money and I'm fleeing. That's what they complain about in their own countries. And then we allow people to come to America and run a train on us. It's crazy.
That's messed up, but it's true. Man, I hate to say that's true, but it is true.
Look, they come from countries and they don't have much. They go to America, make their money, and then go back and live like a king in Africa or fill in the blank of the country. And then which is fine. I'm not even having a problem with that. What I'm saying is the disrespect that comes with it. Like, yeah, America sucks and it's the worst country in the galaxy. You just go get your money there. What? And we just let it fly. But I tell you, say the same thing about Mexico. I tell you, say the same thing about Brazil, China, Japan. You'll find yourself on a short plane out of there.
The worst part about it, and I agree 100% with everything you said, Obstacles. All the ones who say, I'm just going there to get my money and then go back to my country, never fucking go back. They never go back because
you know why?
For the very reason that they left, they can no longer go back to. Because like I said, with me being in the DR, all the people that got to America, they ain't going back there and have the people back there leech off their ass and bleed them dry again. They stay. So I was like, wait, we'll go.
You want
They
to
want to go back. They can't.
You know some of the highest grossing
escape.
You want to know some of the highest grossing GDP in Asian countries, especially here in the Philippines. Okay, they have a huge coffee system here, but it's not that. It's remit to income coming in from other countries because they have foreign overseas workers. So of course they're going to go and rape and pillage every country that allow them in. I'm not meaning it like that, but I'm just saying they're going to go and take advantage of those dollars and bring them back into their country to build up their country.
And I've actually seen some go back, but they would go back with U.S. intellectual property. They don't go back empty. But so these people from this other nation I'm talking about, they were doing things to build up some kind of, credibility or like some kind of, I guess you can say some merit system in their previous country. So when they go back, they'll go back in a different status. And I'm trying to be as general as I can because I don't want to, make a blank accusation. But it was so blatant when I would walk into a country I mean, I'm sorry, walk into the office of some people, and I would see them looking at their foreign military websites, and anytime I would like mention something negative about it, they would get all like offended and stuff like that. And so I think the way our immigration system is, it like obstacles was saying, it's like stupid. It needs to be overhauled because you how can you have like two equal loyalties? Some people are going to pick one over the other, and many times it's not the United States.
Mhm.
Let me just say this. I know I've been ranting, but this is so important to me. And I recently was talking to somebody, and they were from Portugal, and they were a Portuguese citizen, and they were talking about America. Like, America did this, America did that, and slavery, and you ain't mad. I'm an American. I'm a Black American, and I'm not mad at my country about slavery. We came super far. My ancestors did work, and look at me today because of them. So what I was trying to say is what we got is a problem we are going to figure out amongst Americans, right? White Americans been there with us in this battle. So it's not only us. We've been in there. It's our business. It's family business. Let me tell you this. This is a person that's from Portugal. The largest slave population went to Brazil. And to this day, there is not one Brazilian that's a millionaire or a billionaire. There's not one Brazilian that owns anything of value. And it was one of the last countries to end enslavement. But watch this. This is an individual sitting in Portugal, you understand, flaming the fires in America against Americans hating their own country. What I'm saying is you're allowing outsiders to F up your family.
Yep.
You have no other citizenship nowhere. You are American. That's it, my guy. Don't allow outsiders to take their problems, their discrepancies, and also their passions to enrich themselves and use it against you. They're going to have you fighting and clashing against America and Americans in order to get what they need. They have already said it. We are the future. China's the future. Asia's the future. Africa's the future. What does that make you as an American? The past. Destroyed.
But a
Guard
simpler,
yourself.
a simpler
Protect
answer
yourself
to
at all
that
times.
is, even if all that was true, if China, Africa, Brazil was the future, none of those places are welcoming to us anyway. So what?
That's my point.
So what? I mean, if both things can be true, you could tell me. I'm like, and like you said, I know the ills of America. I don't need you to give me a lesson on it. But even if that's true, these are societies that it's certainly not China. They're very homogenous. Most of these countries are. If they ever get in a position of power, you talking about some exclusionary fucking countries.
Yep.
100% China will be all China. The only reason why they even remotely let the small percentage of people that are non-Chinese into the country now is to extract intellect, brain drain from these people. And when they done using your ass, you best believe they're gonna get you the fuck up out of there with the quickness. That's the Asian. Africa would do the same thing, but right now they can't get enough. They can't get enough intellectual geniuses to want to go in and it's not. It's not one thing to go and visit Africa. You have to say, oh, I'm gonna go there and get all these intellectuals to go and live there and build the country up over 30, 40, 50 years. Most people don't want to stay there that long. Most people don't. There's not enough money making. Africa is, and in some countries, it's like the wealthy, you're going to be uber wealthy and can make money there, or you're not going to make no money. And the average entrepreneur, you're going to go to Africa and make what, a net $1,000 a year? Who the fuck gonna do that? You can't scale up in Africa unless you go over there with $100 million business to capitalize on something. But if I'm just trying to be Joe Schmo,
workforce and other things,
if I'm just trying to be Joe Schmo, you can't scale up in those places. It's either the mega corporations and everybody else that have this massive worker class. And the same thing in certain parts of Asia, if it's a Cambodia or something like that. The more westernized countries are already dominated by big corporate power interests. And then outside of that, if you're not fighting a multinational, then I got to fight the Japanese families. And good luck with trying to get through them, or the Chinese families, because a lot of these countries also have families that run the fucking country.
And speaking of that, and that's what I always say this in a lot of my panels when it comes to racism and all that. When in doubt, breed them out. I mean, here's the reason why they try to outlaw, abortions now, because the white people are noticing they're starting to become the minority. Now, when the baby boomers, the good old boys, and they all die out, they're looking at what's going to happen to our nation. They're going to basically relinquish their nation to the silent minority, or the majority now, where they used to be the majority. So they're scared. That's why they started outlawing abortions, where they thought it was going to catch with Black Americans and other nations. No, the white Americans started using abortion more so than anybody else. And they caught on to that. And unfortunately, Black Americans did too. We didn't pay attention to our nuclear family. We stopped having as many kids. And now the other nations, they don't have a problem with having kids. They ain't never been their situation where they stopped having more than one kid, and most of these nations that are coming over here, they're breeding themselves into our politics. They're breeding themselves into our lives. They're breeding themselves into our nation. Had we done the same, we would be in that position now. But over the last 50-something years, we've stopped doing that and started pretending to be like those white people.
And when you're talking about like abortion, when Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood, how she was a eugenicist. And so that's not a coincidence why they had all these clinics in Black neighborhoods.
Exactly.
She wanted to control our population.
It was a white ladies coming in using the system versus us. We were still having kids up until about the 60s, and that's when it started turning around. Once the steel mill plants and everything started, falling through. And then a double take is we were working the system. I have to say it. White people are more in the system than us as far as social services. Black people are next. But what was happening was they were having 2 and 3 kids, and they weren't liking that out of wedlock because they knew they could take advantage of the system. The more kids they had, the more money they made, whether their husbands were in the home or not. But they thought, well, if we get them to kick the man out, we can break up the nuclear family. All they did was allow the woman to propagate and have more and more kids on the system. Now you got an easy workforce because they're going to commit crimes and they're going to go where? Right into jail. There's a whole study behind that. They put rats in a room in a mini city, and they looked at how the rats did what they did. And that's how they learned how many jails they need to build in certain cities. Liquor, alcohol, contributing factors to what? Crime, drugs. All this is a systematic way of breaking down our system where they thought they were going to benefit. But lo and behold, the Hispanics, the Asians, and everybody else started coming in too. Now it's like we're outnumbered by the Asians, and not only Asians, but the Hispanics. Where we were the second ranked one, now we're the 3rd and 4th. We're dropped off. They picked up.
I also want
Do you
to
think
add.
that in their attempt, in their attempt to do those things with the Planned Parenthood, Planned Parenthood, abortion, and all these different things to try to redline it, all these things to try to stop us, ended up inadvertently affecting them? Do you think that there's some sort of like spiritual karma that comes from that? Like, hey, it's like shooting a bullet forward, and the bullet is bouncing back and hitting you in the face.
No, Black
Go
people
ahead.
want to believe that.
Go ahead.
Black people want to believe that because they lack power and they can't do nothing themselves. So they would hope that maybe the universe comes around and do something. If that be the case, a lot of things wouldn't have happened like a lot of genocides has throughout all the history. Listen, I hear all that stuff. This was the plan. This was the plan. Shut up. Everybody had issues everywhere in the world. You're nobody freaking special. You decided to take that loss. You decided to go ahead and do those things. Abort your baby, go sell drugs. Nobody forced you. You could have done the opposite. What do you mean? There was people who were literally in chattel slavery and they chose the opposite. They chose to get themselves out of it. So it's never been that worse for anybody who's been through the stuff you just named. At the end of the day, they made decisions and laws
That is life. There is no conspiracy. Everybody does it to their own people, to people within their nation, people outside their nation. You need to figure out how you stop losing. That's it. That's a part of life. That will always be a threat. Like black people today. If we could build a Wall Street and they leave us alone, nobody's going to leave you alone, you child. This is war. This is life. Grow up, Peter Pan. There was no such thing. Earlier today, what was it, Ronin, where the African brother was like, if they just leave us alone. Shut up. You can't even leave yourself alone. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been on the boat if Shaka Zulu probably didn't run through my village and delete us. So at the end of the day, there's always that threat. There's always those conflicts and battles. Stop losing. That's it. That's all you need to learn from it. It will always be there. Soft power and hard power. Figure it out. That's it. There's no karma. There ain't no boogeyman that's going to come back and get the white man back, because guess what? He has to get everybody back.
Yeah.
He has to get the Africans back.
I mean, there's no boogeyman if you really want to look at it. I mean, religion was built to control nations. And this is way before America was built. The Catholic religion built Christianity as a way of control. Who bowed down to who? The Pope never bowed to a king. All kings bow to who? The Pope. Why? Because of a book. And that book was changed in the first place. They got it from the Ethiopians. Orthodox Christianity was first. That's the original Bible. What they say, if you touch the Bible, you defile it, and all those will be cursed. Guess what? You're reading a defiled book. That's not the original book. That's a modified book in order to control the masses.
Yeah, I kind of believe the same way what Brother Obstacles was saying. Like what they used to tell us in the Marine Corps, excuses are like assholes. Everybody has one and they all stink. So no matter what you like, if people try to use excuses to justify the situation in life, it's not going to help you get, past your situation, your condition in life. You're going to have to find ways around it. So you can sit there and, make up excuses about I can't do nothing because somebody's oppressing me, or you can find out ways to overcome it. So I'm in the same mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. The Marine Corps even taught us how to think outside the box. They did not like in-box thinkers. Now, some commanders like that because you were just kissing the ass. But they appreciated the guy that was innovative, that could think outside the box and wasn't a fucking paper soldier. Because those are the ones usually during battle are the ones that are going to think a way out of the situation they're in. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, perfect. I think it's funny too. Systematic that you don't think there were systems when the whites were messing up China. They had systems too. Guess what happened? The Chinese people beat it. That's it. Ta-da!
And we have been beating it. That's the biggest thing. We have been beating it. Don't you realize?
Y'all been breaking it down though. See, back in 1996, the Black Panthers hit the street and the FBI. Listen, I done heard all the goddamn history. What you're failing to realize is we lost. How do I not lose again? You praying that it'll just go away. Like I said, shout outs to America. I love my country, but the Chinese would at least give y'all guys some hope. They were bottom of the bottom. And most of y'all walk around saying this, not in my generation. The difference is the Chinese never said that. They didn't say not in my generation. They changed it. But here come the excuses. But let me break it down. What about the Ku Klux Klan? Like, here we go.
But let me ask a question, guys. So if the conversation is centered around birthright citizenship, immigration as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. And we all seem to at least think that the country's changing because even the whole birthright citizenship discussion is around trying to change immigration as a whole. And anytime we start talking about trying to change immigration, that's because America is getting scared that the fucking country's changing, right? Because if America thought that America was not changing, we wouldn't give a shit about birthright citizenship. If it was still 70% white, if it was still what white folks wanted, white folks wouldn't give a shit about none of this stuff. So these conversations only occur in the space of, oh shit, we getting scared. Like Ronin said, they're having fewer kids. There's more Hispanics. There's more Asians. There's more of this. There's more of that. We also know, like you said, Joseph, that America was a multicultural country from its founding, multicultural, different people. Granted, they were mostly white Europeans, but they all still didn't come from the same country. They were French, English, German, wherever. So the question is, it's becoming less white, but it's still multi nationality. It's always been that way, and that's been our greatest strength, but also, as we recognize through immigration, also our greatest weakness is that we're strong being diverse, but we're also being weak in immigration because we too goddamn diverse, or some people think. And I had asked the earlier discussion when I was talking to Ronin and Fearless earlier, where I want to fight to slow the changing of America, but then I keep asking myself, I'm stopping it for changing for who? Because as we're just, as Black Americans, we're just one small slice of the pie. We're not the whole fucking pie. So I'm not saving America for all of Black America. I'm saving it for a larger group that's not us. So first thing I said, well, God damn it, if I'm not the larger group, I don't need to be fighting to change it. Let the people that's really, really worried about why am I so worried about it changing if the people that it's going to affect them, I as a Black American, I'm like, okay, how much more can they push us down? Really? At the end of the day, we're going to be where we're going to be. So if someone asked the question, what if 100 million Chinese come in? I'm like, okay, so fucking what? I mean, it's kind of in my mind a little bit like it, like you said earlier, Oscar, well, shit, it'll be like I moved to China. What the fuck is the difference? You know what I'm saying? I hate to sound so pessimistic, but it's like, if we're making a big deal about the country changing, when we're still a small slice of the pie, does that ever really change for us? Because you could drop the 13% of Black Americans in almost every country on this fucking planet, and we still gonna be the 13%. We'll be the 13% in China, the 13%.
I see
wherever.
that. That makes sense.
I got one
It's,
quick
it's,
aside.
it's just a thought that came into my head. Like, before I freak out, we're always going to be the fucking 13%. And I'm not saying not to fight it. It's just a weird thing. Like, I don't want to fight it for white tea supremacists or some fucking body else who's putting me up to be their fucking pit bull. That's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing, Kirsty, and I think Obstacle might agree with this. I don't think you're not wrong about that. You would say, well, what's the difference if the Chinese came here and or we went to China? The point is, I think we traveled all over this world, and not even Africa wants us back. So the thing is, as bad as we think we have it here, it's like you're kind of accepting, I guess, the least of worst evils. Like it could, if it's bad here, it would be so much worse if we had to go to Russia and adopt it, or we had to go to China or Japan or wherever else in the world. Here we are. This is kind of like our thing. This is all we have. Unless we go and build and develop our own country, rise up Atlantis or some shit like that, Numeria, and say this is where 13% of us. Nowhere else in the world is going to accept us as bad as we have it in America. You say, "Oh, it's shit." But I've only been to Brazil, but I've seen how they treat Black people. Look like us.
I'm gonna say this and let y'all continue this conversation. I'm waiting for the Star Trek days where we all get along and start fucking around with the aliens. That's what I want to know. When we gonna get there? Fuck all this shit here. We're just one little marble and all this other shit that's going on. When we gonna get to that point? That's what I want to know.
SpaceX got that IPO soon. It's coming soon.
I don't see 13% as being a bad thing, because there's groups that are a smaller percentage than us, and they have a lot more economic and also political power than we do, because they're playing it different than what we do. So I don't see that. And you have like what 13% when you have like what 1.8 trillion or $2 trillion in the economic power, and we would be the richest Black country in the world. But people don't think about it as that way, about how you can plan to improve the situation, instead of, oh, we're just 13%. But we have a lot of potential weight. It's just that we don't use it.
We don't have our own country, though.
T-Mac, no,
We
no,
have
we don't
money,
need
but
that.
we
We
don't
don't
have
need
a
our
country.
own country. You don't need our own country. T-Mac, you
I
hit it
know
on
what
the
you
head
said.
right there. Asians are living great in America. They're not complaining. They're living great. They're actually outperforming in net worth all other groups, even whites. See, black people, y'all still think whites are at the top. You're clowning. Even the Asians are out competing them. For the most part,
Yep.
you don't hear them running around complaining too much. They
Top
sit in a
income
great
from Asia.
position. Great position in America. They got great neighborhoods. They got great communities. You heard of one thing: stop Asian hate, and then that was done, and it was over with, right? So for the most part, they're skating through America, living the American dream, right? Most white people are in a more dire position than the Asians, but that's because once again, y'all rather hate the player instead of learning the game. You're not playing it right. That's it. And you're thinking like, man, we need 13%. We need our own country. You have your country, Bev. You have America. It is your country. And you keep seeing all of America ain't white supremacy. That's nonsense. If it was, Obama would have never been a president. If it was, they would have never fought with you against other white folks in order to free you. Like, so we just wash our own history and turn it into just white and black and they hate us. What are you talking about? They're the only people who treat you nice. Africans don't treat you no nice. They didn't come over here to save you from slavery, bruv. So
But
you have more outlandish dreams
Right.
when we have our country here. We are 13%. And if we do good for ourselves in America with white Americans, then we'll be good. But you think that's against it. It has to be black. No, it doesn't. Africans are in Africa. Is everything good there? No. Black skin doesn't make you good and unify you and make you powerful. So that's
Shit.
the wrong
So
process.
let me ask you a question then. So are we saying then, and so I'm going back to my original question then, and I like what you said, T-Mac. So my question is, so what's the problem if 100 over the next 10 years, 100 million fucking Chinese came to America? Because that's what my question is. I'm wondering, like, I hear this fear of the country changing and this other large ethnic group comes into America and it's going to change America. And to me, it's kind of like a normative thing. We have immigration. And I'm like, so if we're saying that that is the case, and I'm not saying that we go to another country, the 13% stay here. Well, if the Chinese people replace the
That's
white
one
people,
thing we will never run. You ain't
right?
getting us off this
But my
fuck.
question is,
We ain't going nowhere.
what if Chinese people, all of a sudden, the demographic of Chinese out, the white people shrink down to fucking 2% till they basically almost gone, and the Chinese, what's the problem? I'm trying to figure out. It's like I hear this fear argument on one side where people are saying, oh, the immigrant, and then on the other side, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm trying to figure out, like, if it is what it is and we're gonna make it where we're gonna make it, then if we made it among white people, we can make it among Chinese, right?
But wasn't that the same?
And I'm not
thing
saying
that
I
we were
want
just
that
saying?
to happen. I'm just trying to figure out what is the fear argument for immigration. And
It's no
I don't
different
want them
than
to
in
come.
China.
There is no fear.
China has the same argument.
Yeah.
They have the same argument.
It's
So
all
you acting
false
like fear is
perception.
just a one-sided thing. You just talk about it. Chinese people don't want it. You said they're hegemonists.
Right.
So that is based off of the fear the same way. So if Chinese people come here and they don't integrate and have the same values we have, it's about, see, y'all don't listen to Martin Luther King. You say you do, but you don't. It's about the content of the character.
I get that.
So if they have the covenant, then they could be my brother. But I don't care if they share my skin color or they come from the same bloodline. You have to have the same covenant and think and see life through my lens.
So then the argument that we're having is, and we make it a xenophobic argument by making it about where people are from, rather than the values that people.
Now, why do you think that is?
Because for one, Lord knows, let me tell you, hell will freeze over before America let 100 million Muslims in. See what I'm saying? So if you don't have the same religious ideology, hell would freeze over before that's going to happen, right? They won't let 100 million European, they're not going to let 100 million white Muslims in America just because they don't have that same Christian doctrine. So that's what I'm saying. It's like,
and the same thing goes in reverse, though.
Of course, absolutely.
Freeze over before Muslims allow you to.
But I thought America was the home of the free and the brave, and we were for religious freedoms and all this other stuff.
Right. I'm asking because you said obstacle, and I'm glad you said it. It definitely goes the other way. You said it's about the values and the assimilation and so forth. So I'm like, so, but that's not the argument they're making. They're making the argument, even our dear leader now, he makes it strictly about nationality. He don't know what the values of those people are. He just know I don't want nobody from fucking there. He makes it strictly about nationality. Because to the point where he says, I want white South Africaners, but I don't want
He says it
nobody
all.
else.
He's
But
making it about
he also says,
nationality.
"Come here
And
and
I'm like,
integrate."
you
He
see what
says
I'm
it
saying?
too. You just
Right,
don't.
but
You
he's
just,
making it
maybe
about
you never heard it.
nationality and robbing the country blind. Who gives
Right.
a fuck?
That's,
And
Look at
Ronin,
what
he
he's
said,
doing.
"Come
Look at what
here
he's
and
doing.
integrate." He don't
Right.
have a problem.
but that's
Integrate.
what makes and that's why I said and says I'm pushing back against immigrants coming in. But I'm like, y'all got some shitty arguments. Not
No, it's
y'all on
not.
this panel. I'm
But
just
I'm
saying,
just. I get
I'm
what you're
just
saying,
the
but
people in the
see
space.
that's why Americans are effed up. That's why you guys are moist. That's why you guys are getting taken advantage of. Because the damn somebody come up and say, "Hey, let's stop it." You're like, "Well, the argument is not valid. You could have a better information and explain it better and sit down." You think the Arabs explain it like that when they say you
No,
can't come in here and change
no.
it? You think the Chinese sit you down and say, "Let me come up with
I don't
20
give a fuck
clever
about
reasons"?
nobody's feelings.
Come
It
on,
ain't about
bro.
feelings.
But
Grab
You know,
you, look
but
hey, everybody
between your legs.
that's military. How do
but
they
then
train us in order to fight
well
communism? They
then
raise us in communist environments in
and
order to
here's the
teach us
deal.
what
Here,
our
here,
enemy does.
but here's the deal. Then this is the one thing I'll say, and I always tell people this is that we fucked ourselves by selling ourselves as being something exceptional when we really want to be the same goddamn thing. What is the ultimate thing that we export to the world?
Hmm?
American exceptionalism. We are better than everybody else. No, motherfucker, you want to be the same. You want to be just as xenophobic, bigoted, as
Yep.
everybody else, and say
Yep.
that God,
Especially when everybody else want to stay that way.
which is fine. Then you ain't fucking exceptional, and
Yeah.
basically that
Okay.
means the movie that you sold has been a crock of
So now we
shit
got to
all
change our
along.
movies. You think China don't change their movies? You think China
Okay.
still don't say they're good people? You got to start thinking, my brother. It's duality. It's a
Chinese
holistic
propaganda.
perspective. What the heck? You act like China. So you think China goes around and says, we're hegemonists, we don't like you because you ain't us, and you better. No, they go to Africa, they kiss hands, they say, hey, we're here for you, we're here for the world. We're not
Hey,
like
by
the
the way, we
whites.
can loan you some money with these
And,
incredible rates and
but what do
fucking
they say,
steal
Ronin?
land from you.
We don't colonize. We not like the whites. We
We'll
don't
help
do what
you
they
out.
do. We let you alone. So
Yeah.
come on, get in the game, black
And then the
man.
next
Your
thing you know,
mind is
they're
in the
slapping a
clouds.
fucking Kenyan down right in front of a whole bunch of
That's why you
Kenyans.
don't have a country. That's why you don't have any power, because you can't think like a CIA operative. You can't be a spy. You can't think in soft power and hard power. You sitting around here, well, if we say this and then we do that, we just like them. Yes, man, we're humans just like everybody else. And yeah, we still say we're amazing, even if we're not. Everybody does it. Welcome to life. Period.
And stop using religion as a hindrance. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I definitely don't do that because I follow no religion. I
Because
am
motherfuckers, hey,
I'm
think
as
about it.
agnostic as you can
Every
fucking.
YT person that considered slavery knew the whole Bible and gave you a slave Bible and said, yeah,
Indeed.
keep on taking that whip, nigga.
I
Pray to
don't.
God. Pray to God
Religion is the
that
furthest
God
thing in the
they
world
didn't
from
have
me.
no fear about doing none of that shit. So
I
y'all
just
sit here letting Christianity and say, oh, I'm gonna let God. God didn't say, hey, if you don't do anything, I'll do it for you. He said you need to move in action and I'll help you. The
I
fuck?
always say, like the religion thing, I don't like do whatever you do. What I'm saying is I always tell them, like, no, black people, you're still the problem. Because one group can take a Bible and decide to conquer lands with it.
Hello.
You take the Bible and you decide to get beat up with it. That has nothing to do with the Bible. It has
Don't be so
all type of
ignorant.
words in it. It really has to do with you. Just like everything is a tool. It depends on how you decide to use it. And
Yep.
for some reason, not some reason, you've been getting beat up regardless of your religion. You could be out here doing voodoo. You could be out here doing Islam. You've been getting your head stomped in. So it really doesn't matter. Stop blaming that. You need to blame yourself. That's it.
Mhm.
And it ain't nothing wrong with saying, yeah, I've been getting my head kicked in, my teeth kicked back. I need to stop doing this. And guess what? Some people you don't like, they said what? Never again. And then they figured it out. You ain't them. That's your problem. That's
And
it.
the thing is, I think people respect. Now, you might not like it, but people respect America because of their dominance. It's because of their conquering nature, and it's because of they complain about it. You complain about it, but we benefit from it at the same time. When I went to Brazil, there's a certain level of respect that they have for Black Americans that they didn't have for Black Brazilians. I saw that firsthand. I was confused. It wasn't just because I had the money; it's just because of where I came from, certain mindset or culture. It's a lot of things that came with that, and I was treated in such a way. And I saw Black Brazilians not treated in the same way. Well, you're American. Automatically, there was difference. So but why was there difference? It's because of power. It's because of that bulldozing. It's because of that, as Obstacle said, it was hard power and soft power being used. You talk about Gaddafi and yeah, huh? You talk about going to Afghanistan and taking the oil. Yep, sure did. Yeah, no, we don't want you changing over to the. But then you go across, you go other places around the world, and you see where you. Now, you might feel some kind of way about it. Well, I feel bad about it, but you're also simultaneously benefiting from it. You don't have that, you'll be mistreated just like everyone else. Unfortunately, this is how, as Obstacle says, this is how human nature is. I don't personally like it, but at the same
whole
time,
nations that don't care about their people and stealing billions of dollars away from people every day.
Yeah, right.
Billions of dollars away from their own people. But we sit here with good-hearted natures.
Isn't Trump always stopping beef between other? Like, wasn't India just about to kick somebody else's head in? Thailand
And then
was
dropped a
about to
whole
kick
bunch of
Cambodia's
bombs
head
on
in.
Christmas. Said "Merry Christmas, Nigeria." Boom! Fuck them all up. Didn't give a fuck.
Congo fighting somebody else. Like, come on, Rwanda
that's not
fighting the
just a
neighbor next
humanitarian
door.
thing.
Like, bro,
That
it's
whole
just a
Nigerian
human thing.
It's not just that people look at it and say, "Oh, Trump did a great thing." He did. You can say, "Oh, he's looking out for the Christians," but it was more so a show of power, or more so a showing, "Hey, this is what we can do to you if you cross us."
There's a whole message.
Listen.
Listen. There's a whole message. Think about this. On Christmas Day, he said, "Merry Christmas, motherfucker," and dropped bombs on a day when everybody supposedly recognizes Christ.
That's crazy. I'm gonna lie.
Usually, there's a cease and desist on all wars around holidays. They kind of calm down a little bit, to allow people to, celebrate that. He said, "Fuck all y'all. I'm gonna show you who I am," and y'all still don't believe it.
He got it when he was celebrating.
I have no
They probably assume, they're not going to attack us. Not like that. They're not going to
people used to battle at dawn. Oh, we're gonna meet at dawn. No, I'm a fucking guerrilla fighter. I come get you in the middle of the night while you fucking sleep.
That's what Vietnam did. That's how they won. That's how they won.
I'm gonna be fair. We're gonna square off right here, man.
But see, that's the one thing when I do see that, and that's the one thing I've never slept on America. I'm like, America has always been the world's bully and the biggest motherfucker on the block. And that's the one thing where I hear them, it makes me laugh when I hear them talk about BRICS and shit like that. I was like, if y'all ever think America is going to ever let any of you motherfuckers usurp the power of the dollar, you lost your fucking mind.
And they should.
You lost your mind. I'm like, Bitcoin, all this other shit. They will never
say one word, Gaddafi.
They will never usurp the dollar because America knows its ultimate trump card is military might. Period. Right now, we hands down have superiority on that globally. Could that change sometime in the future? I think I'll be dead and gone, so it ain't my problem. But right now we do have it. And I don't think that's even
that's a military mind right there. We don't give
I don't even think that's deniable by number 2 or number 3. However, America always stays in the arms race. So as new technology comes out, they're out there stealing it. They know absence that military edge, we're fucked. We got too many enemies. We can never give that card up. They're out in space and all other kinds of shit. So I think we'll forever maintain that. And with that, maintaining that, there's a certain amount of the economic, financial dominance that has to go with it globally. Because if they let the dollar collapse globally, that helps weaken that military. So again, BRICS, like, I mean, what, Brazil? Are you serious? Brazil, the only person out of BRICS that even can scratch our ass is China.
That's it.
But I'm like Brazil, Russia, and India.
All of them are hurting. All
China.
of them.
India don't like China.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Right.
It's
None of them
one thing for Russia.
we dispelled, both me and Obstacles dispelled that shit. That's a fucking rumor.
I just literally said, I was like, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India.
That shit ain't gonna work ever.
Russia
get along.
Russia was the Cold War boogeyman. They're fucking economically collapsing and everything else. They still got their nukes and all that. I'm not saying that they don't have certain military might, but they are struggling to stay afloat with their same ideology. And maybe 20 years from now, they may implode. They went through it before. Remember Gorbachev and all that shit. Went through one implosion. Putin not long for this motherfucker. It might implode again and go through another recycle. So the only stable power out of there that can threaten us in any way, and they are a still far away threat, is China. China is undeniable. But the rest of them is a fucking joke. And like you said, they don't even get along. So what is their currency they use in China?
This is why I say, this is why I say Americans got to make Americans great, not the country. Because you guys are so... Americans are complaining. Peep this, RT. They're complaining that their money is used as a global reserve currency. They mad that it's no longer... Watch this. They're mad that the currency is no longer gold. You're mad. Wait, hold on. You're mad that the currency for the globe is no longer gold found in the ground anywhere.
Yeah.
You're mad that it's your own country's money. The money you get paid as salary. What?
That's crazy.
That's how stupid Americans are.
We want bricks to work. I'm like, they want bricks to work? What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Meaning you have the most important currency in the world.
And the most to lose. And you sitting there rooting against it all day, every day.
Rooting against, bring back gold, bring back silver. Like what? What?
I'm just sitting around, and again, I hope none of you gentlemen are invested, but I swear every day I wake up, is this the day that fucking Bitcoin explodes? You know, and I don't want anybody to lose their money, but eventually it's like this. I want the myth of it because I do think it's good, but I think it's too widely unregulated. And I think
you don't even want me to go down that rabbit hole. That's from my other channel.
I just think
that's what. Hey, look, this is what happened when Americans got too much AC, too much access to food on the mobile phone. They just like, I hope that our currency and the Bitcoin, like what?
I don't.
No, I don't.
But this is what I'm saying is I want what Bitcoin does for me is it takes me into a realm of not understanding.
Nigga, just say it. I'm a touch, taste, feel type of individual. I don't like that hocus pocus. I can't put my hands and wrap my arms around.
I talk to my son all the time. I'm like, explain this shit to me, and he be going on, and I'd be like, this shit sound like magic money.
Well, I'm not trying to convince anybody, but Bitcoin helped me buy an apartment building in LA, so I ain't gonna, and I pay taxes on it, so the IRS believes in it.
But
all damn straight they believe in it. That's why
I pay taxes on it. So I was like, but people can do what they want to do.
Everybody,
but everybody has to be in their lane.
Right. But here,
hold on, T-Mac. The Bitcoin is pegged to the US dollar. So the reason why
what you say it's pegged to the US dollar. Where you get that from?
The reason why people love Bitcoin so much is because it's worth US dollars. Like people don't care about it unless it's backed by.
It doesn't. I'm not sure where you. I have to disagree. I have to agree to disagree on that.
This is what I want to say.
It's not worth anything unless.
T-Mac, this is what I want to say. All of y'all say, "Fuck me." Tell anybody because I know nothing about Bitcoin. I tell you, I know nothing about it. So I always preface my comments like, "Look, this is just me because I don't understand it." And if nobody don't listen to me about no fucking Bitcoin. I'll never put $1 in it because I don't understand it.
I'll just say this:
it's new, it's newish, but 20
years.
I'll say this about the degrees of separation between what it did for me. It was like I've been to you've heard of Steve Wozniak, you've heard of let me see, Anthony Scaramucci. Who was another guy? Who was the guy who invented? I mean, he was like the co-founder of Twitter, and he started Cash App. What was his name? John Dorsey.
That
So
sounds
you see,
that sounds right.
so it's just the fact that somebody, me, I don't consider, I'm not some billionaire or anything like that, but the degrees of separation between a person and me who are educating people on some financial tools,
Mhm.
and I was interacting with people like that. So it shows if they believe in it, if Fidelity, which is a multi-trillion-dollar institution, if BlackRock, they believe in it, and all of a sudden we saying it's BS, that's fine. People could do them, but
I
for
never
me,
said what
it's worked.
I'm just now I want to ask, because he might know better than I do, but is not, for me, when I look at Bitcoin investing into it, the reason he was able to get your apartment in LA is not, yes, the Bitcoin was kind of like the facade, but what did it translate into? American dollars that bought them, that bought your apartment. And that goes for everybody. People are looking at the dollars, 100,000, 105. They're not looking at one Bitcoin, 0.012.5% Bitcoin. They're looking at
Look,
how much is it worth for me to take this money, invest in this in American dollars, and translate it. So
I'm not
it's more
trying
like
to
a
shut you down or
belief
anything
based.
like that, but it has nothing to do with the dollar, and that's like a lack of fundamental understanding about Bitcoin.
It's,
Why
yeah,
would places like like North Korea use Bitcoin to get around like embargoes and things of that nature, or to get around sanctions? Because it's not tied to a single currency. That's the whole point of it. So that's like a
Well,
fundamental
The
understanding about
I
it.
always say,
words
I
are
always,
centralized and decentralized. The whole idea behind Bitcoin was it was the decentralized form of money, which can't be tracked, it can't be taxed, it can't be done anything. Why the
Yeah, it could
government
be.
got pissed off is because they couldn't access it for taxation or anything else. So they said, let's start regulating it. Let's start tracking where that money's going so
centralizing
we
it.
can tax it. That's
Ex-
exactly. Let's start centralizing it.
And then
That's just the
now the
craziest.
Bitcoins are like,
Get hold of
hey
it.
man, it's centralized now. Yes.
It's
So
safe.
it shows that they have no
That's
philosophy either. And it's
that's
funny
just
too. Bitcoin is banned in China. So don't forget, you can always get
But
banned.
think about why that is. Bitcoin used to be what was the thing that grew Bitcoin? GPUs. Where did the GPUs come from?
let me
China.
ask. So we're
So
talking about it. The
G-
craziest thing to do is commit a crime using Bitcoin. You know why? This is a fundamental understanding because it's immutable and and since the Genesis block, which was the first block of Bitcoin, every
right.
single transaction is tracked. So you have like a immutable ledger that can't be changed. So when you have forensic people from like the IRS actually look at it, they can trace back every single transaction you ever done.
Exactly.
They
But right now, nobody's allowed access into that from the government. That's
it's open. It's open ledger. You can
No,
look
they
on
got it now. They use
oh,
AI
now
too, and
they
they
do.
get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
look
Now
on
they do.
the
But
blockchain's
before that,
open.
the whole
You can
thing is
see it.
before it wasn't. It wasn't accessible.
yeah. Allegedly, yeah, that's what
Right.
they were saying.
So
But they
let
don't
me
even know
ask you
who
this,
created it,
T-Mac.
so they don't even know what they're talking about. They
T-Mac,
don't
let me
even know
ask you
who
this,
created the damn thing.
and this is why I struggle with it, because I remember reading an original article about it,
Mhm.
and I think like the first coin, it was
Yeah.
like supposedly this Japanese dude, and it was like, and I was like reading them, I was like, what the fuck are they?
Satoshi
It was like,
Nakamoto.
yeah, and it's like he started like, and of course, please don't listen to what I'm saying, but this is just how my brain wraps it, like almost like a
He said
fucking
he didn't
Excel
start it though.
spreadsheet.
Oh, ain't nobody gonna claim that shit.
But it was like an
Yeah, but I'm
Excel
just saying, like nobody
spreadsheet.
knows who did it. It's
Right.
just normies putting it
I
on
just
him,
yeah.
and he's
I
like,
just
"It's
Okay,
know the
not
story
me," and they
behind it.
like,
I
but
"Yeah,
don't
it
know.
is. Yeah, it
but
is. It's
the
you."
way
And they're like,
the
"No."
way they tell the story, it was like this guy came up with this idea and this spreadsheet, and I guess he said this first coin is worth this. And I was like, how the fuck do y'all make money just out of thin air?
I'm
Just
So
gonna
come
go
up
it's
with
with
a little
the
bit
U.S.
different.
dollar.
Let's
Have you heard
compare.
of just a question? Fractional reserve banking. So you guys know what fractional reserve banking is?
nope.
Yes,
The
man. But the
dollar is
U.S.
a digital
dollar is backed
currency.
by
Okay.
military.
Okay.
It's
The
backed by a
dollar,
country.
yeah,
I don't
and
Bitcoin ain't
Bitcoin
understand
backed
is
by
that.
nobody.
Yeah.
no, it
And
actually
watch this, T Mac. If it was backed by somebody, then how could China just come through and say it's banned?
oh, China can't ban it. That's the whole point. They can't.
They did. No,
What they
they
did,
banned
no,
it.
they're
It's
mining
illegal.
machines. They
Well,
No,
banned the mining.
you're the only way you're allowed to hold it is unless you had it previously grandfathered. It's not allowed. You know why? Because they have their own centralized coin, and it's the Chinese digital one now, and it uses the blockchain.
Mm.
So they
Again, you
call
can
it
always be trumped. You can always be trumped when you have power.
So I can make your asset illegal while making mine's legal and use the same technology.
So that's the beauty. That's the beauty. You can't ban Bitcoin. They can create a CBDC, which is central bank decentralized currency. I mean, they no, they can't. It's impossible. And I can explain to it why, but it's too much time over here. You can't ban it. There's no way you can do it.
You can get arrested for doing it. What do you mean?
How can they?
So
How can they find out? Just explain the mechanism how they can find out. How can they find out? If you have a wallet,
China can't find it out, guys.
You can't find it out. You can't find it out. No. Okay.
Because
they can find it.
there's a know your client, so you have to connect back.
KYC, you're right. But how does KYC come about?
Once
if you mine it,
because they regulated it.
Okay.
Established the rule.
So know your customer.
Hold on. The government runs the internet. You really think that you can't be figured out?
Okay. Do you want to allow me to explain?
Yeah, go ahead. You're going to explain. Go
There's
ahead.
something called KYC. Actually, I did a talk over in El Salvador, which is the first country.
It always existed, but okay.
Okay, El Salvador, the first country to actually like legalize Bitcoin is legal tender. They kind of backed off on it a little bit now. So I gave a talk there, and I don't talk much about my background, but I was part of a group of like 165,000 people. It's called Black Bitcoin Billionaires, and the founder of it, one's Isaiah Jackson, and another guy, he created the first iOS wallet for Bitcoin. So that's my background. So my background is where I teach people about financial like literacy and using digital currency which mainly Bitcoin, because it's agnostic to any type of financial system. Okay, now to go back, I can't think of anywhere. One of the things about Bitcoin is that it's immutable, it's censorship resistant, and so I just don't see any way possible how a government or any type of entity can ban it. And my background is more in the technical realm, more of like engineering. But so it's not something that I only say that, not that I know everything, but I have an understanding about technology. And I just don't see any way possible unless somebody can explain it to me how it could be banned. Because that's one of the selling points of it. And that's why people like, Steve Wozniak and other people, they back it up because it's immutable. It's not totally anonymous. It's semi, and it's censorship resistant. So are you familiar with Mark Moss obstacles?
You just keep going, keep talking.
Now I was asking, do you know Mark Moss?
Let's keep going. Yes, I'm listening to you. Yes, keep
okay.
going.
So basically, he was like kind of my mentor. That's how I kind of got into it. So you can look up his channel, but there's no way that unless somebody can explain it to me, nobody has been able to explain it to me yet how they can overcome the censorship resistance. It used secure hash algorithm 256, which is, the banks use it as military grade encryption. So I just want to see how this can be overcome, because if China could do it to Bitcoin, they should be able to do it to any type of banking system which uses SHA-256 as security. So I want somebody to explain it to me. Not here, but whenever.
No, that's okay. So China banned it. So that's
but
what
how?
they did. You don't have to wait. Again, they banned it. They don't have to explain how they can find out. The rule is the rule. Once they pass the regulation, you can't be like, well, show me how you can find who creates booze if booze is outlawed. No, at first, booze is banned. End of story. Now, the next question is, well, how can they find people who are still producing liquor and booze? That is a different process. But the conversation is not about did they ban it or did they? They banned it. It's illegal. That's one thing. Now you're asking, okay, well, how can they find the individuals who do it still? And that's through extra activities called law enforcement, right? And there's still connections into the real world where you're attempting to translate Bitcoin into other things. Yes, at certain aspects, it could remain anonymous. And then I could still have encryption to attempt to break that. I could still try to find you at certain endpoints and customer points when you try to transfer it. That's why a lot of people who actually commit the schemes and then they try to, send in and swap all the Bitcoins and coins in and out of different coins.
I can agree with part of what you said.
Still, because the law enforcement is fighting for it to figure out and trace where the money is going to.
Can I break in for a second?
Where is somebody going to try to exchange the money and translate it? Now, if they never do it, then they can get away with the crime. But the actual end of the day is it's still illegal. It's still banned.
I'll agree with. They can agree is argument. They can ban the on ramps and off ramps. Any country can ban the off ramps.
Banned. Period.
No,
They didn't
they
say,
they
"Hey,
can't.
it's banned on and off rent." Wait,
Okay,
hold
and
on. Listen, you're not listening.
no, I'm
T-Mac.
listening to everything
What
you
I'm
said. You
saying
said they
is,
could ban it. I just don't
they
agree.
said it's illegal. Whether you say they can or can't, it's irrelevant. They said it. It's the law. What you're arguing is, well, they can't find me. Okay, cool.
No, that's not my argument. That's what you said my argument is, but that's not what I'm saying.
What is your argument? You said they
So
can't ban it.
no,
Okay, go ahead.
let me talk. Any country can ban the on ramps and off ramps because you have to go from fiat to the digital currency. So they control the on ramps and off ramps. But to ban it, so you don't have any possession of Bitcoin. Period. Do you know that it's not on any device? You basically hold what's called the keys to it. So when you cross borders, you can have billions of dollars worth of assets in Bitcoin, but when you cross the border, you're not crossing with the actual dollar amount of assets, you're crossing with the keys. Does that make sense?
You're not understanding what I'm saying. It's okay.
No,
We
I
can
understand
disagree.
totally what you're
That's
saying. I don't agree from a
for some
technical
reason it's
aspect.
not connecting. Then okay, you understand,
No, it's good.
but that's not what I'm saying. So it's a
Hold on, real quick.
point to
Hold
go
on,
back
hold
and forth.
on. I went in so far as because I know China in 2020 had a whole huge financial crash when Evergrande, one of their major real estate producers and growers, crashed. So I was like, well, maybe that might have been the cause of them wanting to, and they got out of the GPU business. And then all of a sudden, I'm thinking maybe that might have been a reason. So I asked it, I asked ChatGPT, would that be an encouragement of why China banned? And it does reference China's Bitcoin ban wasn't officially framed by promoting the digital yuan. China's government and the People's Bank of China did develop a state-issued central bank digital currency, often called the digital yuan or yuan, whatever you want to call it.
I'm very
Initiative.
familiar with CBDCs. They call it
Yeah.
CBDCs officially. If you actually Google CBDCs, that's central bank digital currencies, and that's something I never would touch because what you do is you give up entirely any type of financial freedom that you have. So that's why I would run from it if it ever became part of the United States. Now, as far as China, I'm no novice. I mean, I'm not a novice in China.
But what I'm saying is, did they or did they not ban it? It's the key reasons why China
No,
actually
they can't.
for banning Bitcoin. So it is referencing China is.
I can prove. I have a contact in China, right? I know people in China. I've been there 35 times to mainland China because I had to work there. No,
It's still
I mean I'm not.
illegal, regardless
Can
if
I?
you can
Can
do
I?
ways around it.
I hear
They
what you're
still
saying.
banned it. That's all we're saying. We heard what you said 100 times, T-Mac. I get
We
you.
can
What
be
you're not
anywhere in the
freaking
world.
understanding is
Super
it's
Marine
still
Corps
illegal. You can do all the stuff technically and say, yeah, well, you can't catch me. You can also say you can ban it in and out. No, if it's banned, it's banned. They have the, and you say, well, I won't touch it. Nobody cares
Let's
about
drop the
T-Mac.
debate. Let's say if it's
China's
banned, it's
trying to
banned.
create.
Yeah, can we?
China
Can
is
we?
attempting to create
I'd
their
like
own
to actually.
currency.
Why debate about something I'm not arguing about? If you say it's banned, that's fine. But what I'm saying, there's
Okay,
no
that's it. That's
mechanism
it.
to
That's
actually
I'm
ban
done.
it.
Whatever you say
Okay,
after
just
that,
say what
that's
you're
you,
done.
bro.
Now let me
I don't
finish
have
what I'm
nothing
saying.
on
You say what you had to say.
Yeah.
But there's no technological way they can ban it. What I'm saying, they can say it's banned, you can't use it. They can ban the off ramps and the off ramps. And like I'm saying, I'll send you if you guys want to hear. I mean,
Go ahead
I'll
and
send it to
send
whoever
me.
wants.
It's
As
okay.
far as like the
You can send
presentation
it
I
to my
did
email. Send it to my
about
email.
this in El Salvador. And
Because
like
I
I'm
would be
saying, I'm not a
interested.
novice to this thing. And
I
even
would
though you
be.
guys keep it, I'm
No,
sorry.
no.
Who wants to talk? Let me know when you're.
T-Mac, I would be interested because I have a whole nother channel on business. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. I would really like to hear what you have to say. And
Yeah, I'll be happy to talk about it, and I'll send you the interview I did in El Salvador at the Bitcoin Center there, so you guys can see that I'm just not blowing a bunch of smoke.
nobody's
Don't want
thinking.
Nobody's saying you're blowing smoke, bro.
Nobody's
Okay,
thinking.
I'm not saying that a government can't ban it. What I'm saying, there's
I'm
no
not blowing
technological
smoke,
way they
brother.
can
I
enforce
can
it.
show you my diplomatic passport.
Yeah,
I can show
I've
you
heard.
like,
I know about your story. You have a very
all right.
distinguished
So I'm
background,
what I'm saying
Gotta
is
stop. Y'all
I'm not
can't
saying you're
say.
lying.
Y'all,
and probably most people that know I've been to China like 35 times because I helped them. I was there teaching them how to develop and certify commercial aircraft. That's what I was there for. So I understand, and I've been to with the vice premier ceremonies with vice premier China, yes, and I know obstacles. You have a very distinguished background. I've paid careful attention to your story and your financial success, brother. So I don't challenge
And
you on that.
listen, I don't often say that if you invest in Bitcoin, you're stupid. Like that's crazy. Have you seen the return? The numbers speak for itself.
Oh
The
yeah, I got
return
in
is
when
a
it was like
return on
3K. That's
investment.
when I got in
Okay,
1997.
so
I mean
I'm not saying
2007.
that, but
2017.
when people try to go to the next level and say, all right, bro, this is going to take over the galaxy. And what I'm trying to help those people understand is, bro, look, hold on, slow down. I get it. I think you think it's more of, not you specifically, but
Right.
I'm trying to tell people, hey, you could think it's a liberation, but here's what's going to happen. Once the BlackRock and them come in, everybody's going to switch their tone, right? It was decentralized was the first argument. And then you were also arguing that the fiat USD has no gold reserves back in it, and
Right.
it's just the government printing it. I'm like, well, okay, Bitcoin doesn't have no gold reserve neither, so that's pretty stupid as a point to destroy the USD. And then if you're going to invest in it and it's speculative and you're like, it hold value because other people believe it hold value, I'm not going to argue against that because obviously it's a store of value and a store of investment for people, and they believe it's going to go higher.
Yeah.
That's their
So
business.
when I first
And
got
it has
on, I
some
was saying,
applicable use on tokenization. So I'm not even actually Bitcoin advocate. I'm tokenization, the technology, the underlying asset, which is the blockchain, and then the technology in itself. But net, if someone's like, oh, I'm pro Bitcoin, I'm like, okay. But the whole thing is the USD is trash, and this is going to be this, and that's not backed by the gold. That's when I'm like, all right, hold on, slow your boat. All right, you invested, you made
just a
money,
question.
great.
You never heard any of those arguments come out of my mouth, and I even said that I'm
No,
not
I
trying to
didn't say
convince
that.
I'm not trying to convince anybody. But if I don't agree, I'm
Well,
just going to speak
T-Mac,
up and
this
say I
ain't
don't agree.
about you. I wasn't just talking
Yeah,
to
I
you.
know, brother. I know,
I was
brother. But I'm
talking
just
to
making
you.
it, making it clear that everybody does them. If they believe that it's a bunch of BS, then so be it. I'm not going to convince you. I'm not going to try to convince you. I just saying it from my personal experience, and that's it.
By the way,
everybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But it's
by the
banned.
way, subscribe to my new channel, Wealth Talks, Legacy Walks. And that's the kind of conversation we're going to have on that channel. I'd love to have you guys on, and especially T-Mac with your background. I already told Obstacles I'd like him on the background. Both of y'all are Marines. So I definitely want to promote positive reinforcement on known strategies and business and growing legacies and different things like that. So that's what that channel is about. I'm glad I got a preview of this today. I'm sitting front row and center, but
Much respect
But
to all your
also,
brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead, T-Mac.
I got nothing but respect for all you brothers, man. For whatever, from the
Right.
backgrounds. I've heard like a lot of your talks, Obstacles, and and I what I believe is, man, you have to listen more than I talk, right? So I absorb what people say around me, whether it's from you, whether it's from Ronin, whether it's from other people, and I take it in. And I don't really talk as much about myself. And this is the first time I've talked publicly about Bitcoin. But because I just keep it to myself because everybody has their own feelings about it, and that's fine.
Well, you know what? I would say this though: if it was on that, if we had that, let me speak it in a more positive light. But what I would say is, when we do have it, I don't want to have that conversation we just had, because I don't think, like, at the end of the day, I hate fighting amongst investors about other investments. I think it's stupid. When we could dive deeper into the investment and learn your background, how far you came, more about the actual chain and everything else. I think there's too much. I think actually majority of the conversation get clogged in what we just discussed about versus explaining it more and understanding the nuances. And then I think people need to know, if it's not your what, then it's not your coin. If it's not your key, it's not your coin. So I think a lot of people need to know that versus arguing the points we were just talking about.
No, I agree. No, I totally agree. And like, much respect to all your brothers. So I didn't see you as arguing. It was just that
bruh.
Now, it was an argument. You was hating. You was hating.
I was hating. I just, I had just like a disagreement. I speak
You
up
was
just like,
mad. You was mad. Don't be mad at me, bro. Be mad at the
I'm not mad,
CCP.
bro. I got
Don't be mad at me. Be mad
I
at
got
the
nothing but love for
CCP.
my people, man. As long as my people are winning, that's all I care about, dude. Because I know that nothing you said was coming at me personally. I didn't care about that. But if I think that someone says something that I don't agree with, I'll speak up just like you do with me. If you don't agree with something, you speak up, and fine. We don't have to agree, but we have respect for each other. You know what I'm saying? That's all I care about.
Absolutely.
You seem like you have a lot of knowledge about Bitcoin, which I didn't know. I came out the gate saying that Bitcoin was nothing but the US. He was like, well, let me correct you there, brother. He gave us credentials, his experience, it surpasses my own. So I'm humble enough to say, hey, listen, I'm nowhere near qualified to talk about Bitcoin or even do anything. I would have to listen to someone like T-Mac, which is what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, well, let me shut up, and the way I'm thinking about it is wrong. And so it's just what it is. So I'm interested in hearing, like, you see her talk. I want to see that video for myself, and actually stay in touch with you as well, because I've just never been a Bitcoin person. I'm going off.
Right.
I'm looking for the information myself.
It's very
Just
surface level. You don't
TL
have
Mac
much information.
TL Mac 18 on Instagram, and I'll connect with you. But that's I'll do it phonetically. Tango Lima Mike Alpha Charlie Kilo 18 on Instagram, and if whatever you want to learn, man. I've created presentations. I have like some interviews I did with the Bitcoin Center in El Salvador and other things. And I'm not saying this for you, but if you want to learn about it, that's what we don't. My organization, we don't take any money. Our total mandate is that we've gotten one of our sponsors was John Dorsey. We've gotten money from Kraken Exchange, and we give over 100% of it out. To support education, financial education for the underbanked and unbanked communities. So,
Wow.
I don't
Put
charge
that,
anything for this.
put the Instagram in the I guess the public chat. The public might want to know it.
Well, actually, T-Mac, if you put it in the private chat what your Instagram is, I can go ahead and drop it to where it's linkable.
Okay, let me see. Yeah, I guess this is a private chat. Okay.
My understanding is
Bottom,
very rudimentary. It's very
that's
elementary.
good information. And like I said, both of you brothers are successful in your own rights and the things that you guys specialize in. And that's not even a debate. You get what I mean?
And I'm not.
What it is.
One thing you want to hear about me, I'm not going to sell anybody anything. I just give out, this free knowledge, and people, I don't encourage them to take my word for it. Look it up yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can use what I say as a reference and just look it up, for yourself to verify.
That sounds
And
like
there's also the way you handle the objections as well. Like it was just very intelligent and mature, right? It wasn't like I know. It was just kind of like, well, this is why I can say I know this. This is why I can say. So I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm like, okay, I'm the wrong one here. Whatever I said about Bitcoin, forget about it. I want to learn from someone who clearly has. You spent a lot more time in that. My thing is like futures and stuff like that. It's completely different than Bitcoin. I have not given no time to Bitcoin whatsoever. And finding someone who actually knows not only what they're talking about, because people can sound intelligent talking about a subject that they don't have any experience or success in themselves, but based on you just saying, hey, listen, I paid off my LA apartment with Bitcoin. I got in at $3,000. You had to have some sort of foresight and intelligence to say, okay, this is going to be big. I'm spending $3,000. Now it's something like 100K. So it's like, okay, you know something I don't. If I was as smart as that at the time, I would have done it probably when I started was like $10. So I'm just listening. That's all.
And
I
I have to
appreciate the
say,
knowledge.
I appreciate it, man. All the kind words and everything. And I would say most of the things that Brother Obstacles was talking about, man, I agree with almost everything he was saying. And he doesn't realize that probably because he doesn't know me, that our backgrounds are somewhat similar in some ways. Like you retired early, even though I retired a few years, I would say after you. I'm older. But I believe that also living life, you like making excuses and saying this is a situation and blaming others. That's just not the way I do things. And I made a plan like you did. You're going to retire early. You're going to try to, invest and be prepared for, like the storms that come in life. And one of my storms, I'll give everybody kind of like a testimony what happened. Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps. I studied mechanical engineering. I worked for some corporations as like engineering like exec, but I got real sick. But instead of like waiting for bad things to happen for me, what I did was I started investing and planning for the future because I was, knowing that, it could be precarious. That one simple thing like the illness that I got could cause me never to work again. And I want to be in a situation where my family would be in a bad condition. And I was just blessed to come across, something like Bitcoin. And not only that, I invested in real estate, started my own businesses and things of that nature. But to make a long story short, my risks were realized, and I had my injuries from the Marine Corps. I had both my feet reconstructed, knee surgery. I damaged my spine in a car accident, and then I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune illness where they told me I could never walk again. I could walk. I could never work again, but I wasn't worried because I had prepared, and I didn't want to be in a position where I had to rely on the generosity of others, to live. Just like like Brothers Obstacles talks about. you know, you have to be prepared for those situations and not sit back and feel sorry for yourself, right? So that's kind of like my testimony. So I don't work anymore. I'm retired. I live in Colombia full time. And you know, there's some other things I do in my life, but that's what reason I'm telling you, brother, obstacles, is that I can relate to a lot of things that you talk about in your life. So whatever you say, you know, you probably don't realize that it touches other people, and that, you know, we can learn from what you're saying. And I'm pretty sure in some aspects you do know that you're reaching out to other people. But I've been listening to you for a while.
No, shout outs. I appreciate that. And more than anything, I appreciate you actually doing it for yourselves. That's extremely good. And again, I'm not against Bitcoin and in your positions. At the end of the day, I love to have these conversations versus talking about like the Raptors and I can't name another team. So at the end of the day, yeah, no, much appreciated. Mad respects to you, brother, for real.
Yeah, we're
Not
still
to
brothers.
RT though.
We're always brothers, man. I could care less whether if you thought Bitcoin was garbage. I know you don't. You know, it's just, you know, you might not, you know, agree with it. It doesn't matter to me, man. To me, a brother's a brother, and if I could learn something from a brother, man, that's what I'm here for. I want to learn from people. I don't want to be around those Pookie and Ray Ray, you know, like rooms where I just talk about looking at, you know, trying to pick up 304s and then like that. I want to be around people where I can learn something from. That's why I'm here.
Facts. Facts. Well, I mean, I guess we're done with the conversation of birthright citizenship. We went right into the money game.
Yeah. Hey, and I think I'll set up my algorithm because literally something on YouTube popped up with the lady, what was it, Secretary of Homeland Defense? So she was like, you could get paid and you could get flight money to leave the country and we'll help you get back legally. But if you don't, you will be fined, locked up, and you will never come back. This is the
Nah.
message by President Trump.
I mean, that link. I need to see that. That's crazy.
It was the advertisement video in the YouTube joint. Yeah, I was like, what the heck? I never seen this.
But anyway, fellas, this has been another 2 hours. I did 3 hours on the live show. We're at 2 hours and 7 minutes on the after hour show. So I'm waiting on my lady to get home and enjoy a nice little meal and some quiet time. I appreciate you, brothers, wherever you are in the world. Appreciate you guys tuning in and having a conversation. I look forward to having future conversations with every one of you, especially on my new channel. And it's going to be more on the financial and legacy side, which obviously all you gentlemen are definitely welcome because you all have individual strong stories and your history of going from where you came from to successful lives and overcoming all the challenges you guys have had. So definitely looking forward to that. And for everybody else for tuning in, appreciate you. Love you guys. And I'm out of here. So you guys don't have to leave the panel yet. I'll talk to you guys in the background. Let me just close this.